Meghan Markle has not spoken to her father in over 2 years. Harry is drifting away from his own family, and as time goes on, the divide in their relationship will only get wider unless someone makes a move. So today, let's talk about how you can close the gap and initiate contact with those who have chosen to cut you out of their lives. If you're new to my channel, I'm Sue Blackhurst, and I've been writing and delivering psychology-based training courses for the past 23 years. Every week, I look at everyday issues that we all face and relate them to the antics of celebrities, generally Harry and Meghan, to help you relate to the topics that I discuss. Now, if you've not subscribed already, please subscribe now and hit that notification bell so you don't miss my weekly videos, as who knows, my next video could be all about traumas in your life. Being part of a family is so fundamental to the human experience that for most people, it's just incomprehensible to imagine life without the people you grew up with being at every family get-together. But sadly, some people belong to families where they face abuse, neglect, maltreatment and mental illness. And in order to survive, for some children, estrangement is their best option. Now, I'm not going to talk about these issues in today's video, as I'm neither qualified or experienced to discuss the complexities of such sensitive and traumatising events. Today, I'm relating family estrangement to the day-to-day differences that occur as people simply dislike or disagree with the people that raise them. As family ties start to unravel, they can only be stretched so far before they finally snap. Now, if this is a mutual parting of both sides and they have no desire to rekindle that blood bond, let it be. But estrangement is different, as this is when one side consciously decides to cut off all contact in such a way that it seriously upsets the one that's left behind. But for some, that can be quite harsh with the return of gifts and a vendetta against the hurt parties. But for others, it can be less dramatic but just as painful, as people no longer visit, the phone stops ringing, and the person you knew so well all of a sudden becomes a total stranger. I have had so many heartfelt comments and messages about my last video that I just had to follow it up. But I really do want to stress at this point that I am not here to give advice. No one can possibly do that, especially on a YouTube video. I do suspect that you've tried everything. So what I would like to hope is that I can give some insight and maybe some further suggestions on how you may be able to instigate at least a conversation. Now, if you're the one that feels abandoned and hurt, it is only natural to feel helpless and that there's nothing you can do. But there are some tactics that you can try. After all, what's the worst that can happen? And if you're the one that maybe made the decision to break, then I would like to think that you can take a moment and find the courage to put aside whatever frustrations made you leave in the first place and do something before you look back with regret. Something that saddens me is how the invention of the mobile phone, the one thing that was going to enable us to speak to anyone, anywhere, at any time, has single-handedly killed the art of conversation. Because whenever there's like a world crisis, political leaders are always said to be in talks. We're never told that world leaders are texting or that Brexit was discussed over FaceTime. If there's conflict or something that needs to be sorted out, they get people in the same room and they talk, as that is the best way to find any resolution. Talking, however, needs to be done before it's too late. Talking is what you do when you feel the chill and believe there's still a chance to fix things before the frost settles. But no matter which side you're on, whether you are dying to get out or praying they will stay, presenting how their actions make you feel will have so much more success than highlighting where you think the other person's going wrong. But for me, delivery is absolutely key here, because telling someone that you'd really love to visit more often, but their comments about how you're living your life frustrate you, is far better than telling someone else that criticising everything you do and slamming on the door on your way out will ever find a solution. If Meghan had only called her dad and told him that the press will do anything to gain a story and how his actions were upsetting her, I think that she may have at least not only maintained contact, but also an element of control over what he was doing. Now, of course, we don't know if that is what she actually did, but again, reports do suggest that she turned her back at the first opportunity and refused to even let him make amends. Stating how someone makes you feel is the best way to let them know the situation, but this needs to be followed up with how you would like it to be and how you think they can help you to stop feeling like that. So looking back at Meghan, she could have told her dad that his photographs and comments to the press are really upsetting her, and the impact on a relationship means that it was difficult for her to keep defending him to the royal family. But to then guide him by saying that she would really like him to stay part of her life, but he has to say nothing and not reveal anything about her life in order for that to happen. If Thomas Markle then continued to break what I would see as a reasonable request, then he at least would have more acceptance of the consequence. He did get things wrong, but then again, we all get things wrong at times. But the immediate cut of the relationship meant that he was unable to make any attempt to put things right. And as he was then left in limbo, he continued to reach out to his daughter, because in his eyes, it was the only way that he could actually speak to her was via the media. But in her eyes, he was just digging an even deeper hole. And the sad thing is, she continued to let him. If at any stage Meghan had just had that one conversation to say to her dad, stop, there may have been a chance of damage limitation. Because in my eyes, we have two family members. One of them has made a mistake and the other one has just walked away without giving them any opportunity to put it right. If you're on the receiving end of someone else's disdain, you really need to think about what you want from the conversation. Because you've now heard the other person tell you that if it continues, they may need to pull away. You will, more than likely, have your own perspective on the situation. We've all got our own points of view after all. But maybe this isn't the time to throw back the counter-argument of all the things that the other person has been getting wrong and has been doing, and all the unrelated things that you have done for them in the past. So if Meghan had told her dad, let's say, that he needs to stay indoors for a while and just ignore the press, it would have been, wrong for him to fight back with, but I cared for you and I gave you everything while you were growing up. There is a time and a place for one person to talk and get things off their chest while the other person listens, knowing today is not their day if they want things to move forward successfully. Face-to-face conversations will always be the best way to commence any form of resolution, bearing in mind the strength of non-verbal communication and the tone and pitch of your voice. Have a look at the video here. I do discuss where words have the least impact. But what if this breakdown has gone too far to manage and you can't even be in the same room, let alone the same country? Well, if face-to-face conversation isn't going to happen, and if you are the person left behind, trying to maintain at least one line of communication open will give you at least some hope of making contact. Emails, text messages, and even the much missed handwritten letter can lack the benefits of a face-to-face conversation, as you just both lose that ability to read each other's non-verbal communication and maybe adjust your approach. However, there is one huge advantage of sending your thoughts in writing, and that is the ability to backspace, delete and rewrite it until it delivers the message with the most inoffensive way. Now, the danger here though can be the need to just pour your whole heart out and your side of the situation, letting the other person know quite clearly what they did and what they should have done in your mind. This soul-bearing exercise achieves nothing more than to fuel the fire as every line is read with a counter-attack, which only strengthens the rationale for them leaving in the first place. So a better approach is simply to reach out, acknowledge that things aren't good and that you'd really like the opportunity to just put things right with a non-confrontational suggestion to talk. Short and simple beats long-winded every day. If Meghan's letter to her father had just let him know that she felt let down and she was sorry he wasn't well but would like to speak to him after the wedding, then having that letter released to the press would have saved all the scrutiny of its content and its inference. Written communication, however, is a one-way process. You send and you hope to get a response, but that doesn't always happen. So if you are reaching out to the one who has left you and you get no reply, you still have the ability to look back on everything that you have tried to do, and you will find peace knowing that you just didn't give up so easily. If you are writing your final farewell note as you want to get your rationale off your chest in order to justify your reasons for leaving, you also have time to think about what you want to say, knowing that you won't be interrupted mid-flow by the person that you feel never understood or listened. It seems to me that Meghan felt she was unable to speak to her father, which I think is tremendously sad, considering the level of crime that he actually committed. But maybe she felt so hurt by his actions that she didn't want a response, only to give her side of the hurt. Her letter to her father was a one-way action. It was a full and final communication. I'm telling you how it is without giving you the possibility of making any contact with me. This one-way action also reminded me of when she returned her wedding ring in the post. It was an action that shouted loud and clear that she was the decision maker and her decision was final. Sometimes we all need a break from people and things in our lives, and that's why holidays are so refreshing, because it gives us time to escape and just come back feeling refreshed. But walking away from a family member with the mindset I'm never coming back is a huge statement to fulfill, and that stupid thing called pride gets in the way. So if you are truly feeling that you are being misunderstood, then tell people you just need some time out, a break or some space. You may choose to go for a walk for an hour, stay with friends for a week, or get a job abroad for a year. Either way, the door is still open, and coming back means that you are in control of your life rather than feeling that you gave up from running away. On the other side, if you've been trying to make contact and spent days, weeks or months calling and writing with no reply, then taking a break can also be beneficial to both your own health and the situation. Because disengaging from the pain helps you to refocus and see the situation from a different perspective. And you may even feel that you have done all that you can, and enough is enough. And something else about human behaviour here, which I think is quite interesting, is all down to chasing dogs. Because if you chase a dog, it will run away from you, and the more that you chase it, the faster and further it will run. But the moment you stop chasing and you turn around and begin to run away from the dog immediately stops running away, turns around and begins to chase you back. And people are no different. And sometimes the more that you chase someone, the further they will run. And it's only when you decide to give up and walk away that they want to look back and actually see where you are. Reports in the press have said that William and Kate in particular are missing Harry, and I wouldn't be surprised if Harry is missing them too. The dust in Canada is now settling, and the reality is more than likely setting in too. William has apparently made contact and been to see Harry. Now, who knows if it's true, and if so, what was said. But I do hope that if they did meet, it wasn't a discussion of who did what. If you do manage to at least make some contact and have a glimmer of hope of a response, then the last thing people want to do is talk about the conflict that initiated the separation in the first place. Light conversation, without even a hint of, do you know what you've done, will be your best way of shutting out the past and looking towards the future. Talk about happy memories, something that you both enjoyed doing, and let the past go. Because the reason why people often pull away and stop visiting parents is the dread that as soon as they walk in the door, it will all start again. Comments like, oh, hello stranger, or oh, I thought you'd forgotten where we lived, are not funny to the child. They are just a constant little dig that makes it so much easier to stop visiting. Now, one thing that really struck me from all the messages and comments on my last video was the length of time that people had either walked away or been left waiting. For some it was months, for many it was years. So changing from leaving the door wide open along with all your emotions to leaving it on the latch means that no matter how long it takes for them to return, you can carry on with your life. But if and when they do want to come home, they know that they've not been locked out. For Meghan, there may never be any reconciliation between her and her father, as they're both left at the moment to reflect on their own perspectives. It looks like Meghan is currently angry at the hurt he has caused, and maybe she feels that she doesn't need him or the pain that he's causing in her life, and she's better off without him. But I also suspect that as Meghan is looking forward at her future and all the years ahead with her own family, Thomas is counting down the number of days that he has left to see his daughter again and meet the son-in-law and the grandson for the first time. Above anyone else, your family are the people that you should be able to count on. But as these relationships do break down, family estrangement leads to so many lost years of sadness filled with nothing more than silence. Sadly, it can often take the death of a family member to get people in the same room, or even more tragic is when the family congregate at the funeral of the one that they turn their back on, leaving nothing more than regret that they didn't find peace before it was too late. I love watching the Christmas TV adverts. In the UK, it's mainly John Lewis advert that signifies the start of Christmas, and personally, I don't think they'll ever beat the Penguin. But with the now joy of YouTube, we have access to adverts from all over the world. And the one that really hit home for me was one from Germany, where an old man wanted to get all of his family together, but they were all too busy. Now, I'm not going to say any more about the advert, but I will put the link to it in my description, so do watch it without the spoiler. But the message in the advert is clear. So even if you just send this video to somebody else, I hope beyond anything else that someone out there picks up the phone and is able to become the bigger person. If you feel this video can help someone you know, then please do share it. Keep the comments coming. I do read everyone, even if I can't write a long response. Thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you next week.